Distinguished audience, good morning and assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our third business session on addressing inequality in education. The session was planned to be chaired by Professor Dr. Syed Mohammad Gholam Farooq, Director General, Directorate of Secondary and Higher Education, Ministry of Education, Government of Bangladesh. But due to some unavoidable circumstances, he is unable to chair the session. So I would like to request Dr. M. Mahfuzul Haq, Faculty SIPG NSU, to chair the session. This is Rudmila Khan, Program Officer, Center for Peace Studies, SIPG NSU. This session will be continued till 12:05 p.m. The session will cover 4 areas which will be presented by distinguished panelists from relevant fields. The thematic areas and panelists of the session are Policies to Address Inequality in Education, Lessons from the Past and Challenges by Dr. Moklesur Rahman, Senior Operation Manager, World Bank, BRAC's experience in addressing the issue of inequality in education at the backdrop of the pandemic and strategies adopted as remedial measures by Mr. Mohammad Mofakkarul Islam, Program Manager, Field Operation BRAC Education Program BRAC, Accessible and Inclusive Education for All, exclusive from a public experience from a public university in Bangladesh during the pandemic by Dr. Shakil Ahmed, Assistant Professor, Jahangirnagar University, Dhaka. Dealing with Inequality in Primary Education, Perspective from a School Teacher by Ms. Nasira Haq Biva, Head Teacher, Madhupur Government Primary School, Sadar Upazela, Thakurgaon. Now I would like to hand over the floor to the chair of this session, Dr. M. Mahfuzul Haq, to moderate the session.
Thank you, Rudmila. Thank you so much. At the outset, let me say that I was a bit having a problem with my computer. So sorry for the delay and let's start of this session. So it's a privilege on my part to chair this session, and it's a pleasure to connect with the distinguished panelists, namely Dr. Moklesur Rahman and Mofakkarul Islam, Dr. Shakil, and Nasira Haq Biva to be with this session. So it's been a long time, Mokles Bhai.
You are muted. Dr. Mahfuz, please unmute yourself. Dr. Mahfuz, unmute yourself.
Muted few time back. Again, it's coming back. I don't know why. Okay. So, today's session is basically on inequality in education, particularly at the onset of this pandemic. We had challenges with regard to access, with regard to inequality, with regard to gender parity. But with this pandemic, these inequalities and widespread gaps has been further widened. So we are basically probing all this from the perspective of policy, with regard to our experience, with regard to the NGO experience in dealing with inequality, and what does inequality mean to us? If you look at the SDG goals 4, then this is quite broad-based and comprehensive with regard to early childhood development, equal access to technical and vocational training, relevant skills, gender equality, life skills basically. So it's quite broad-based. And these inequalities can be manifested in many of our everyday life. As the Honorable Chief Guest was saying, that 1/3 of our workforce are illiterate. So that's a huge inequality which is being persisted everywhere. And also we learned about the vicious cycle of this quality. So inequality and quality, these are endemic with our system of education. I would like to hear from the distinguished panelists with their experience and long time being practitioner in the field of education. Would like to hear. With the first, let me invite Dr. Moklesur Rahman, who is the Senior Operation Manager in the World Bank. I had the pleasure to work with him when I was in the education. So over to you, Mokles Bhai. So you have 10 minutes, so we can stretch to 12 minutes for you. So thank you. Over to Mokles Bhai.
Thank you very much. I am very happy to see you after many, many years, although it is virtually. And good morning to you all. I think many of the education sector might know my name. So I'm happy to reunion with you guys. And today, let me have my slot in few part, say global pandemic. What is happening there? And if we look into this global perspective, almost all the country is reopening the schools now. And some of we are talking blended learning, some of telling combining remote and in-person classes. What is most important we can see, the global priority is now T-cell vaccination. 53% of the world country now pushing on that. If we go to the latest development in education in the COVID situation, we can see as inequality and access also a huge item here. Let us look into some of the countries that how they are coping up. If we look into a few European countries, for example, Germany, Netherlands, UK, what they are doing, and Switzerland, and even Latin American countries, Chile, their recent report showing inequality has increased substantially. And if we look into the how things are happening in Asia, so the COVID what transformed. Saudi Arabia, they had 2 semesters. Due to COVID, they have come up with now 3 semesters. That's if we look into the Uganda, an African country, they are now reopen the school for 12 to 18 years, and they all of are vaccinated. Apparently, teacher shortage is a huge question across the countries and region. A recent study showing Netherlands reporting they are not getting 42% of teachers coming back to their school. So it's a developed country. And let us see what is happening in our country. Time is limited. I can't go actually so detail of that. Look into the effect. COVID not only negative impact, it brought a lot of positivities. Today, our seminar also an outcome of COVID. We are virtually connected. This was not happened earlier. I have tried several times of having some kind of virtual meeting. That didn't happen. Those who are in the university, you know, Bangladesh Research and Education Network, BDRN, I have tried several times to make it virtual. I was very less successful. Now, that's the lifeline for many universities. Dropout is happening, but blended learning also brought positivities. I'm just giving out of many examples, 2 examples. Botswana, they have recently reported that their learning achievement and cost effectiveness has, even learning outcome has increased 0.12 standard deviation. If we look into China, what they have achieved, they're also reporting it's a very, very mass study, large respondent, that that closure has improved their learning in a state of losing 0.22 standard deviation, which is very significant. But if we look into Ghana, if we look into other countries, on an average, it is 50 to 80% learning loss. Look into Bangladesh, a very recent study with 40,000 respondents. We found that COVID has increased a lot of sense that the precautionary part and the taking care of themselves of the health measures, not education. I'm just going back, that time is only 10 minutes, what we can do. World Bank role. All of you know that universities are not allowed to come up with online admission test, etc. In the background, World Bank was there, bringing the change in the policy level for getting the online classes, private universities, and in public universities, but there is certain limitations. If we look into the access that we have provided during the COVID, the vaccine Bangladesh is receiving is a major contribution from the World Bank. And if we little bit look back what we have done on education, World Bank has currently around $2 billion investment for education from primary to tertiary. Our chair was talking about that 1/3 of the population has no education. How they will be skilled manpower. We had example earlier one skills project, which brought around 2 million people in the job market. Currently, just 7th September, the government has approved a project called Asset, which will provide around 10 million people the support, which will address disadvantaged group and others. This Asset project will transform the technical education and training in coordination with 5 ministries, NGOs, and employers. Bangladesh, I'm mentioning that Bangladesh is pioneer in gender parity. However, we don't know what happened during the pandemic. How many girls dropped out, but the study shows that many of the girls may not come back. There is a lot of child marriage happened already. In the higher education, we had a project which we call Higher Education Quality Enhancement Project, HACI, that brought a lot of changes, governance, access. Even today, all the universities are using BDRAM. That's also part of earlier project. Currently, we are preparing a higher education acceleration and transformation project. The World Bank has approved it, and it is now in the Ministry of Planning for ACTEC. That project will establish learning management infrastructure that will provide further support for research and education. It will support internationalization of higher education. This is the Bangladesh will be the leader for the first time for higher education leadership in South Asia. South Asia, geographically, we are very close, but socially and relationship is very, very distant. This is the first project regional project, which will start with Afghanistan, and then Nepal, India, Sri Lanka will join. And China already showed interest to join with us. We hope this will be the next generation project, and that will create huge quality competition. While Bangladesh University will compete with other universities globally and regionally, we do believe quality will enhance. For access, we have kept as blended learning will continue. There will be a lot of provision for devices and subsidy for connectivity under the 2 projects, Asset and HEAT. So we are expecting that the access issue will largely be addressed. However, the major problem, the Bangladesh has the infrastructure providing internet up to the village level with high connectivity. However, the government need to utilize those infrastructure for accessing by the students from primary to tertiary at the village level. And World Bank is there to continue support. And we do believe those who are participating here, we are the education elite, and we can also strongly voice our opinion that let the access go to the village level and disparity, digital disparity has to be removed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over
Thank
to
you, Mukhlis Bhai. That's a very positive note, and we are very happy to hear that the World Bank has come up with so much of, a robust project that is now pending in ECNEC for approval that would change the education landscape in future. So this is a positive note, certainly, and also you have given a global perspective that also gives varying results with regard to COVID adaptation and progress. Many countries have made the best use of it, and while others are losing. So there is another field of research that World Bank may come up with their investigation. So thank you so much at this point. We'll have more discussion at the end. So our next presenter is now Mr. Mufakkarul Islam from BRAC's education program. He's the manager, field operations. Now he will speak on the basis of his wide knowledge. So over to Mufakkarul Islam. Thank you, Mufakkarul Islam. We're pleased to have you here today.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Honorable Chair, sir, and distinguished guests, and some audience who are watching live from the social media. Of today's business session, addressing inequality in education. And this is Mufakkarul Islam, Program Manager from BRAC Education, is welcoming all of you to my session. I would like to share some of my slides. I would like to thank South Asian Institute of Policy and Governance, North-South University and KAS Germany for organizing this virtual national seminar on accelerating progress and equality in education during the pandemic in Bangladesh. I also thank for giving me the opportunity to share BRAC's experience in addressing the issue of inequality in education at the backdrop of the pandemic and strategies adopted as a result, remedial measures. Before going to my slides, I would like to tell some stories, some facts, especially the national enrollment of Bangladesh. If you see the curves, if you see the bars, you can see that half of the eligible children had access to primary education in 1970, and the girls' enrollment was worse than boys. Nearly 1 out of 3 girls had the access in 1970. The enrollment rate was, though increasing, but it was very slow because there were limited resources, limited number of schools. Parents were not aware of the value of education. And all of you know that there was no quick solution to provide education to all students with the limited resources. BRAC realized the social needs and developed a non-formal school in local settings with low cost under the leadership of our visionary leader, Sir Fazle Hassan Abed, the founder of BRAC. The model was very simple. If there is one room in community to spare and a woman with minimum education, children of that community may have their education. BRAC piloted this model in 1985, and with this system, more than 12 million children graduated. I'll not go more details, but describe very shortly. BRAC has schools for different category of children. We work in hard to reach areas where access is limited with very marginalized communities. We have non-formal primary schools for the never enrolled children, preschools for the children who have some sort of education but dropped out from the main system, pre-primary schools for the beginners, boat schools for the children, especially in hard areas. BRAC has also schools for secondary age children, and it is centers for special children, and also schools for the Rohingya community. As you know, that BRAC schools are established where it is needed. BRAC doesn't set up schools everywhere. If there are around 30 children, either dropped out or never enrolled, we set up a school in their community. Children from ultra-poor families, girls, ethnic children, and the children with special needs are emphasized. It is basically one room school with local female teacher. We find the small children get motherly attitude from the female teachers. Our all school teachers are female. As a teacher is less educated, mostly past SSC, they go through several trainings and monthly refreshers. Schooling hours are very flexible and it is decided by the local SMC, and you will find the completely child-friendly environment with the activity-based teaching learning methodologies. We follow NCTV textbooks for achieving grade-wise competencies. The schools are run under close supervision. We also have sessions for parents. So as all of you know, the global crisis COVID-19, people were not ready for that. BRAC provided awareness training to all the teachers, especially the safety protocols, what to do, what not to do to parents. We appreciate government effort for launching sessions through Shamsud Television and Bangladesh Betar immediately after the school closure. The initiatives were great within very short period. The lessons were attractive and actually then we had very few choices. As you know, BRAC beneficiaries are very poor and mostly they do not have the access to Shamsud Television, Bangladesh Betar, and internet access as well. We carried out a survey and found more than 90% parents have features phone, I mean button phone. Our team developed a model home school through conference calls from April 2020. I will tell a little bit more on the next slide. Again, we also found that conference call through button phones for the students of pre-primary schools didn't go well. They were not found very comfortable with phone calls. Instead of listening, they play with the phones, press several buttons of the phones, and gets disconnected. So our curriculum team developed some lessons through radio for broadcasting community radio station. We call it radio schools. We have recorded the lessons in BRAC community radio station. The lessons have been on air through 11 community radio stations. The students of BRAC, government primary schools and other schools benefited from these lessons. With this, we also plan that, especially after lockdown, that teachers can do home visit, like 3 or 4 visits a day. So home visit started immediately after the lockdowns. Besides this, we have planned our school reopening. We have developed our reopening guideline and work for our preparation. You can see the images of the BRAC home school. Here you can see the teacher with a button phone, and she connects 4 students with the same call. So it's like teacher is facilitating a small group lessons with a small group, and the teacher is trained by a trainer, and it is also happened by the virtual training and our phone, our conference call. So this is the simple initiative with the available resources we have, the resources that parents have, and the technical knowledge that we have provided to our teachers. So we piloted this initiative to all of our schools, especially primary schools and secondary schools. And today you can have a report on this. BRAC Radio School, as I mentioned earlier, we find that more than 90 to 92% attended our sessions, lessons through radio. Actually, we monitored our parents that actually, you know, currently the people do not have radio. Radio means the big set now. What they have a small button phone, and the button through this button phone they can connect the community radio stations. So we have to train these parents that how they will connect to get the episodes, to get the lessons. And at the end, we find that more than 90% parents with their children listen to the radio programs. The program is very enjoyable, especially the parents like, and the instruction given by the radio, students followed with their parents. All of you, we know that schools have been opened on 12th September 2021. Before that, actually, we have a plan that school were supposed to open in May. So we have developed our guideline and reviewed now and sent it to the all school teachers. We have provided orientation to teachers. What are the protocols? What are the things to do? What are the things not to do? So all things are mentioned in our guidelines. Before that, staffs and teachers have been vaccinated. Hand wash station have been installed. Students wash their hands before they enter into the classroom. Infrared thermometer ensured in schools. Teachers are now capable to check temperatures. Students know their daily temperature. Masks have been provided by BRAC to teachers and students, and we found that they are using it. You can see the pictures on the right, the children are using their masks. And at the bottom, the teacher is checking temperature. Sitting arrangement marked on the floor, on the ground. You know, in our BRAC schools, students sit on the floor. So they have a particular place where they sit and they keep distances among themselves. In the first week, basically, we didn't teach anything. The thing we have mentioned that they will practice the well-being. Teacher will mention the well-being, check their understanding, what they did in the school closures, what are the things they have to do and what they have not to do, the protocols and the other things. And they also mentioned that they will tell their parents to be vaccinated. So these are the things that are going in our schools. We have reviewed the curriculum and developed the remedial plan, especially in Bangla, mathematics, and English. And we have already provided orientation to teachers for reducing the learning gaps. We have found, especially the safety protocols, we have found that students are enjoying their classes with this system, with washing hands, with sitting in the safe distances, and maintaining all other safety protocols. They don't go with each other. So we find it that after a long school closure, they find their schools in a festival mood. So that's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll love to answer your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fakhr Islam, for your timely, finishing the lecture. Can you please take off your screen?
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing with your BRAC's experience with regard to remedial education in Bangla, mathematics, English, and also safety protocols, and also developing the guidelines, vaccination program and all. So this is a very good experience. Thanks for sharing. We'll now invite Dr. Shakil Ahmed, professor of Jahangirnagar University, to hear from him the experience, lessons from public university with regard to dealing with inequality in this pandemic. Over to Dr. Shakil Ahmed. We have 12 minutes time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And also, I thank the previous speakers from World Bank and BRAC also. Today, I'm telling my experience in a public university, and I designed my talk within the 10 minutes. And first, I will tell my experience in both in public and private university in Bangladesh, and my professional acquaintance to set the context, and then the government policy during the pandemic and how it affects the Jahangirnagar University and also some other university, and I would then asked the question, is this the failure of public policy that actually failed to deal the inequality? And also, again, come to Jahangir University, some personal experience with the students. After finishing my PhD and postdoctoral research fellow in Japan, I came back in Bangladesh in 2015 and joined North-South University as a faculty member, core faculty member. And then I have this opportunity to work with this fantastic ASI-PG team. And I also take some of the classes. And then I left North-South University and joined Jahangir University. It's a public university. But still, I'm working with as a part-time faculty with North-South University. But my maximum time dedication is actually going to Jahangir University. And then in 2020, find the pandemic, and it was a huge experience for many of us in our lifetime. And suddenly we found that all the classes actually was called off. And the students actually had to leave the university hall from Jahangir University. And you know, most of the cases, the Jahangir University and many other public university, we actually entertain students from different parts of the Bangladesh. And also there are cross variety of people with economic and social classes. On contrary, North-South University is more privileged one, but I'm not saying this, most of the students are rich, but they're coming from also is a considerable background in middle class background. Or some of the cases, I found that most of the cases, there are 80% students from North-South universities actually coming from middle class background. But on contrary, Jahangir University, they're coming from the village area, rural areas, Mofasil areas, Anchil areas. So they're very, very fantastic people. And they came with this university in a very, very competitive exam. They're very, very bright and they are eager to learn. And suddenly they had to leave the university and go back to their village areas because we actually told them to do so. And University Authority of Jahangir University, and they actually listen to UGC and government policies, which they should actually. And the government at the time decided even not to take classes online. The reason was that it could encourage the inequality. So we found that in Jahangir University, the classes were actually going on. At the same time, we had to stop classes in public university at the beginning. And then again, government directives came and they also told us to take the classes. And then the real challenge actually came out. Because when we are sitting in this city, we actually don't face much challenges. What is actually the problem with this network problem? In villages areas, the mobile companies, they have very low coverage. So students who are actually asked to take classes, they had no option. Sometimes they had to climb in the tree to listen my lecture. And this is actually the most fortunate one who actually managed to um, uh, take the class by climbing a tree. But in my class, in third year class, I have 3 students who are blind. And one of them actually is a female student. She's a girl student. Her name is Sharmin. So she is visually impaired, and her home was submerged by the flood, and she cannot actually join in the class. So the first thing is the inequality is a divide between the urban and rural areas. The first inequality. Second layer inequality, she's a female student. And third layer inequality, she is visually impaired. So then I ask myself, is this the failure of public policy, or is this a failure of market? It is possible to solve this problem with only the policy. We are very always have this tendency to blame the government. But also we need to think about the failure of the market, because many students, for the market actually not going there because they have the low capacity of buying capacity. So that leads the digital divide between rural and urban areas. And these digital divide actually we are facing, and I think it is actually going up and up, because I was saying that there are 3 layers of inequality. If someone is poor, if someone is female, and someone is like from special background, like visually impaired. So when we talk about the inequality, we need to think about the different shades of these people and their needs. I think that we need to do more research on to know this, how we can solve this problem. And this divide is actually going up and up. So I'm very much thankful to North South University and this SIPG for actually create this platform, academic platform, to discuss about these issues. And we don't have this solution right now, but I think the policymakers will think about it. It's not all about the education or the matter of UGC or Jahangirnagar University. It actually connects the wide range of inequality, widespread inequality in our society. And it's also need to talk about the social groups, market, and public authority. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shakil. I think there's a huge area that we need to come out of the box, like departmentalism, compartmentalism, or silos. So we need to, integrate, as Mukhlis Bhai was saying, that we can all integrate fiber optics in public and private agencies, and that can create huge potential that can, revolutionize the field of connectivity. And this problem of connectivity will go forever. So we need to integrate public and private partnership for sure, for raising this connectivity issue and also bringing this digital divide. Thank you very much for sharing this notion of inequality as it persists and manifested in the case of gender, in case of physical impairment, with regard to rural and urban divide. So we must take into account, and certainly this is an area of market as well as this is an area of public policy. And we also need to appreciate those public policies and implement them. Because public policies, if you don't implement, you don't take it to action, So thank you very much for your insights on this. And our last speaker of the day is Nasira Haq Biva from primary school in the government in a remote place. It's called Madhupur Primary School in Thakurga. So our next presenter is Nasira Haq Biva. So we would listen and welcome Nasira Haq Biva to please share your insights as a head teacher of a primary school, how you have tackled this COVID and how you are interfacing with the students. We would like to share your experience. So over to Nasira Haq Biva. You may speak in Bangla if you like. Feel free to talk in Bangla as well, if you feel comfortable.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম আমি নাসিরা হক প্রধান শিক্ষক মধুপুর সরকারি প্রাথমিক বিদ্যালয় ঠাকুরগা সদর ঠাকুরগা আমি স্লাইড দেখতে চাচ্ছিলাম Dealing with inequality in primary education, the case of Madhupur Government Primary School, Thakurga. মহামারী কোভিড কিভাবে স্কুলের শিশুদের এবং মধুপুর সরকারি প্রাথমিক বিদ্যালয়ের শিক্ষকদের জীবনে প্রভাব ফেলেছে, শিশুরা স্কুল বন্ধকে কিভাবে গ্রহণ করেছে, কিভাবে তারা তাদের শিক্ষা চালিয়ে যাচ্ছে, শিক্ষার্থীদের শিক্ষা অব্যাহত রাখতে স্কুল কি করছে, এই বিষয়গুলো নিয়ে আমি আমার বিদ্যালয়ের কার্যক্রম এবং পরিস্থিতি উপস্থাপন করব। এখন মধুপুর সরকারি প্রাথমিক বিদ্যালয়ের তথ্যসমূহ উপস্থাপন করব। The number of students of the school, boys and girls, 87 boys and 80 girls. Enrollment rate 100%. Dropout rate 0%. Academic results 100%. Number of teaching staff 6. The school catchment area 4. Occupation of the parents of the students, agriculture labor, small trader. স্কুলটির অবস্থান সম্পর্কে আমি বলছি। আমার স্কুলটি ঠাকুরগা সদর থেকে 16 কিলোমিটার উত্তরে 1 নম্বর রুইহা ইউনিয়নে মধুপুর গ্রামে অবস্থিত। স্কুলটি মেইন রোড সংলগ্ন। স্কুলটি অনেক পুরাতন, 1990 সালে স্থাপিত হয়েছে। যোগাযোগ ব্যবস্থা সুন্দর। আমার টিচার স্টাফের ছবি দিয়েছি আমি এখানে। আমার টিচার স্টাফ 6 জন। স্কুল ক্যাচমেন্ট এরিয়ার ছবি দিয়েছি। আমার ক্লাস্টার মিটিং হয় 3 মাস অন্তর অন্তর। করোনাকালীন সময়ের পূর্বে 3 মাস অন্তর অন্তর আমাদের উপজেলার সরকারি শিক্ষা অফিসার ক্লাস্টার মিটিং করেন। করোনাকালীন সময়ে অনলাইনে উনি বিভিন্ন আমাদের তথ্য ক্লাস্টার মিটিং এর মাধ্যমে দেয় অনলাইনে। করোনাকালীন সময়ে শিক্ষার ধারাবাহিকতা রক্ষার জন্য আমরা শিক্ষকরা স্কুল অভিভাবক এবং শিক্ষার্থীদের সাথে ফোনে যোগাযোগের মাধ্যমে পড়াশোনার খোঁজ খবর নিয়েছি। শিক্ষকরা পাড়ায় পাড়ায় গিয়ে সামাজিক দূরত্ব বজায় রেখে পড়াশোনা দেখছে এবং মূল্যায়নের কাজ করছে। শিক্ষার্থী এবং অভিভাবকদের সাথে ফোনে যোগাযোগ আমরা করতাম। এছাড়াও বাড়িতে গিয়েও তাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে হয় আমাদের। করোনাকালীন পরিস্থিতিতে শিক্ষার্থীরা কিছু মত প্রকাশ করেছে। শিশুরা বিদ্যালয়ে আসতে আগ্রহী। স্কুল বন্ধ থাকার ফলে তারা স্কুলে আসতে পারছে না, খেলাধুলা করতে পারছে না। এই জন্য শিক্ষকরা যেদিন অফিসের কাজে স্কুলে যাই আমরা, আশেপাশে শিশুরা এসে আমাদের বলে কবে স্কুল খুলবে, তারা স্কুলে আসতে চায়। যেসব শিশু পড়াশোনায় আগ্রহী তারা এসে আমাদের বলে পড়াশোনার কথা, তারা স্কুলে আসতে চায়। অভিভাবকরা এই বিষয়ে আমাদের কিছু মত প্রকাশ করেছেন আমাদের কাছে। এলাকার সচেতন অভিভাবকরা স্কুল কবে খুলবে সে বিষয়ে জানতে আগ্রহী। শিক্ষকরা বাড়ির কাজে শিশুদের লেখাপড়া দেখিয়ে দেয়, সে বিষয়ে অভিভাবকরা আমাদের বলে আমরা যেন তাদের শিশুদের পড়ালেখা দেখিয়ে দিই, সে বিষয়ে আগ্রহী তারা। স্কুল খুললে শিশুদের বিদ্যালয়ে পাঠিয়ে দিবে সে বিষয়ে তারা আগ্রহী। শিশুদের মূল্যায়ন করার জন্য আমরা ওয়ার্কশিট পেপার শিশুদের হাতে দিয়ে আসি, সেটার ব্যাপারে অভিভাবকরা খুব আগ্রহী। তারা বলে এইভাবে বাড়ির কাজ দিলে শিশুরা বাড়িতে লেখাপড়া করবে। অভিভাবকরা আমাদেরকে এইভাবে জানায়। আমার বিদ্যালয়ে অনলাইন ক্লাস আমি নিতে পারছি না, কারণ আমার ল্যাপটপেরও সমস্যা, নেটেরও সমস্যা আছে। ওই এলাকায় প্রত্যন্ত এলাকা, যেহেতু নেটের সমস্যা আছে, অনলাইনে ক্লাস নেওয়া আমার বিদ্যালয়ে সম্ভব হচ্ছে না। এ কারণেই শিক্ষার্থীরা টিভির মাধ্যমে পড়তে পারে। ফোনে শিক্ষার্থী এবং অভিভাবকদের সাথে পড়ার বিষয়ে খোঁজ খবর নিতে পারে শিক্ষকরা। প্রশিক্ষিত শিক্ষকরা অনলাইনে ক্লাস নিতে পারে গুগল মিট অ্যাপস এর মাধ্যমে। তবে ওই এলাকায় অভিভাবকদের স্মার্টফোন নেই, দু একজনের আছে। এ কারণে অনলাইনে ক্লাস এলাকার শিক্ষার্থীদের জন্য নেওয়া সম্ভব হয় না। ম্যানেজিং কমিটির সাথেও অনলাইনে আমরা মিটিং করতে পারি না, কারণ তাদেরও অধিকাংশ স্মার্টফোন নেই। তারা দিনমজুর শ্রেণীর মানুষ। আমার স্কুলের শিক্ষার্থীদের বর্তমান অবস্থা, কোভিড-19 স্কুল বন্ধ থাকার ফলে ছেলেমেয়েরা পড়াশোনায় পিছিয়ে পড়েছে। তারা মা বাবাকে আয় রোজগারের কাজে সহযোগিতা করছে। শিক্ষকরা ফোনে অথবা বাড়িতে গিয়ে তাদের সাথে যোগাযোগ করছে, খোঁজ খবর নিচ্ছে। অভিভাবকদের সাথেও বাড়িতে গিয়ে ফোনের মাধ্যমে যোগাযোগ করছে। টিভি এবং বাড়ির কাজে ওয়ার্কশিট পেপার বিতরণ করে পড়াশোনার মূল্যায়ন করছে শিক্ষকরা। করোনাকালীন পরিস্থিতিতে আমি আমার বিদ্যালয়ে যেসব কাজ করেছি সেগুলো আমি বলছি। আমার বিদ্যালয়ের শিক্ষকদেরকে নিয়ে আমি আমার ক্যাচমেন্ট এলাকা আছে, সেই এলাকা শিক্ষকদের নিয়ে ভাগ করে দিয়েছি। প্রত্যেক এলাকায় যতগুলো শিক্ষার্থী আছে, শিক্ষকরা ততগুলো শিক্ষার্থীকে নিয়ে তাদের বাড়ির কাজ, পড়া দেখিয়ে দেওয়া, ফোনে যোগাযোগ করা, পাড়ায় পাড়ায় গিয়ে খোঁজ খবর নেওয়া, এসব কার্যক্রম আমি চালিয়ে গেছি। প্রত্যেক শিক্ষার্থীর মূল্যায়ন প্রোফাইল তৈরি করেছি। কোভিড-19 বিদ্যালয়ের শিক্ষার্থীরা পড়ালেখায় অনেক পিছিয়ে পড়েছে। শিক্ষার্থীরা পড়াশোনায়ও অমনোযোগী হয়ে পড়েছে। আমাদের শিখন শেখানো কার্যক্রম চালাতে অনেক সমস্যা হচ্ছে। শিক্ষার্থীরা বাবা মার আয় রোজগারের কাজে যুক্ত হয়ে গেছে। বিদ্যালয়ে চলমান প্রক্রিয়া ছিল, সেটা থেমে গেছে। শিক্ষার্থীদের উপস্থিতির হারও কমে গেছে। দীর্ঘ 9 মাস বিদ্যালয় বন্ধ থাকার পর শিশুরা বিদ্যালয়ে আসে, তাদের উৎসাহ আর আনন্দে বিদ্যালয় মুখরিত হয়ে ওঠে। শিক্ষকরাও খুব আনন্দ আর আগ্রহের সাথে বিদ্যালয়ের পাঠদান দিতে আগ্রহী। শিশুদের এতদিনের লেখাপড়ার যে ঘাটতি ছিল, ঘাটতি পূরণ করতে সবাইকে মিলে আমরা যদি পরিকল্পনা করি, শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থাকে আরো গতিশীল করে তুলতে, তবেই প্রাথমিক শিক্ষা ব্যবস্থা পরিপূর্ণ রূপ লাভ করবে। আমরা আমাদের গ্রামীণ এলাকার যে স্কুলের যে অবস্থা, সেটার উন্নয়ন ঘটবে আমি মনে করি এটা।
Okay, so thank you, Nasir Haq Biva. Parvez, can you remove the slide? Okay, thank you very much. So Moklas Bhai has said, very happy to see pictures of school. This has done by the GOB for all the private schools in Bangladesh, where World Bank is one of the largest contributor for development partners. Appreciate the head teachers' comments from the field experiences. So thank you, Biva, for raising very pertinent questions at the outset that you have asked, that how this has impacted the lives of the children, what actions have been taken, and how this continued education can be continued. So these are the basic 3 questions that you have tried to explore, and with your experience you have nicely narrated all these issues of inequality. I'm very glad to hear that the students are very happy to return to schools, and this is certainly a very happy note at the end, that children are prepared to come back to school, and certainly teachers are the forerunners and they are the front fighters in order to bring this SDG 4 into reality. Now we have heard from the primary school, we have heard from the public sector schools, and also we have learned from the World Bank the global perspective of inequality. But with regard to the private university, as NORSA as one of the leading private university in Bangladesh, is with this huge infrastructure and a robust system of internet connectivity. It looks like that all the affluent people are here, the students are here, but we see our students are far split. Even I have students from Cox's Bazar, from Thakurga, from Potuakhali. They're all split everywhere, and they also face the same problem of connectivity and inequality. For example, many of the students, they have device problems. Many complain that, sir, my laptop is not working. Many of them say, sir, I have no electricity. Many of them complain, sir, I have lost my mobile camera. So this problem persists all over even there is a huge element on the supply side that the institutions are doing, the governments have been doing, but the problem from the students' perspective are also very serious with regard to their socioeconomic condition, with their preparedness. So we need to understand and appreciate that the students are also, they're seriously affected. And teachers have been also very kind and sympathetic in dealing with this COVID situation and trying to continue education. So with this note, I thank all the panelists for their contribution to this seminar, and this has expanded our knowledge and insight. We wish that this would be reflected in our report that we are going to publish as in the form of a public policy brief paper. So thank you very much, everybody. We look forward to working again. So if there are any questions from the floor, if anyone can please raise, I would be happy to respond. Even the panelists may respond, please. So we have a few minutes, 3-4 minutes left for your comments, if there are any comments from the floor. Megha, you would like to share anything? You speak Bangla, so you can speak in Bangla as well.
I'll talk in English, sorry. I have a question for Mr. Ahmed. I really appreciate your efforts to impart education to the blind. I think it was really touching. I just want to know, then how did you continue the education? You mentioned that especially girls, there was no connectivity and all that. And I want to say that you are not alone. You know, we have been in Bhutan as well just recently for a webinar like this, and everybody is facing it. As an education practitioner, what would you say? Training is something we leave upon the government, but as a university, how do you see it? Or even to you, Mahfouz, as a private university, as an educator from a private university, how do you see, how do you think public university can give education to those who cannot access because of connectivity or anything? Like, do you have any tips for, I mean, this is a question for both of you, as a private and the public, how do you see it? Because you didn't mention the problem, and I see that training is important, but you know, we cannot rely on the government for everything. So do you have any innovative ideas that you could share? Because I think this is not only for Bangladesh, but also for the region as a whole, because I think everyone is facing similar problems. Thank you.
So Dr. Shakil, may I respond first?
Okay, thank you very much for your fantastic question. I don't have this kind of very easy remedy, because I connect this problem with the socio-economic challenges, because we cannot solution this problem with like government policy and also the market. I understand from World Bank, Mukesh Rahman Bhai was saying that the government is doing such a big infrastructural changes, but I have very doubt about this initiative, because unless you cannot eliminate the social conditions, poverty, inequality in the society, you cannot solve this problem with some training or projects. It will be there. So it actually connects with the larger problem. And we actually depoliticized the education as a as a problem. We depoliticize it. Education itself is a political issues. So only through the training and through government infrastructure investment, I don't think it will be solved. But it's very, very gloomy picture I'm drawing. I understand it. So thank you.
Thank you. Let me also bring this that Dr. Shakil, he teaches political science, so he sees everything in a sort of larger context and looks into the political issues as well. I think this is very pertinent. But I think what we can do that they should not be forgotten. We must have policies. I'm not quite sure for Northern University if we have a policy like, this kind of, spatially challenged people policy that I'm not quite sure if I've seen anything like that they would have access to education, some kind of scholarship. I'm not quite sure because, but in the public universities, I don't know if there is any either. But we need to bring these issues of inequality in terms of, physical impairment. We must give them a special provision and special learning environment. So this is a neglected area, of course. We must pay attention to this. I appreciate this question. Thank you very much. Mukesh Bhai, would like to add anything? Thank you. Thank you. Mukesh Bhai, would like to add anything?
I just like to say 2 sentences. You are almost finished. Professor Shakil was telling depoliticizing education. Education itself is a political good. So we can't depoliticize, rather how we can popularize and reduce the inequality such a way we can reach to the unreachable. Look the statistics, Professor Shakil, like 70s and today, one teacher is telling that 100% enrollment, it was 33%. And girls was 17%. Now it is more, girls are more than boys. So social change happens not overnight. It takes generation, at least 2 generations. So this, I think a lot of debate is there, but we need to work such a way we can reach to the unreachable. And BRAC has made a fantastic presentation, how they're reaching to the remotest area. BRAC is a model which also many countries has utilized it, even bank itself. We have come up with the reaching out of school children model using the Grameen Bank and BRAC model, which is now 35 countries are copying. So I do believe things will happen. Social change don't happen overnight. Even my lifetime, it will not happen, but next life it will happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there anyone who'd like to give their final, note of remarks?
If it is not, can I say something, Professor?
Yeah, very briefly. Yeah, maybe we have to finish soon. So maybe very briefly.
Okay. I understand later part that I actually didn't properly respond to Samara when she was telling about a girl who is blind, visually impaired, how actually we can reach to her. So I think we need to take this problem seriously and make special projects or programs so that we can reach the poorest of the poor, disadvantaged of the disadvantaged. So I think with so many students, we have this problem. So we have actually can design some of the particular issues. And I also appreciate Mukesh Bhai for your commitment and contribution to as a World Bank members. And I understand that last 50 years, Bangladesh as a state achieved a lot, but at the same time, we have to think about when sometimes this kind of emergency happens, how government machinery and private machinery works. So we found that during this pandemic, all our effects was not actually designed to cope with the emergency situations. So I think this COVID pandemic actually teaches us how to deal with the emergency situations, and World Bank and other donors and multilateral institutions and government also should think about these issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are at the end of our seminar session for this second session, third session. So I try, before I conclude this session by offering a vote of thanks to all the panelists, let me also invite you that our next session would commence from 2 p.m. So I would urge all of you to, if you are free, please feel free to join our next session, which is basically looking into the new actors in education. That's meaning the telecom, the companies and other technology people. So that would be quite interesting. So I appreciate if you could please join us. We'll be highly, we'll appreciate that. Thank you very much. So Mukhlas Bhai and all the panelists, Mr. Mufakkar and everybody will continue to work together. We look forward in partnership in future. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.